Hello everyone and welcome. So in a segment that is dwindling, there are manufacturers that are still offering real coupes, and in today's one I'm going to be reviewing one which is this Mercedes-Benz CLE 300. So last year Mercedes discontinued the C-Class and the E-Class coupe, and to simplify their lineup they introduced the CLE series. So there are two different trims, CLE 300 and CLE 450, and the particular variant that I'm reviewing is the CLE 300 4MATIC. And let's begin from the front. So you get this very long nose out here and this grille with the star design on it with the Mercedes badge in the middle in the chrome and these strips around that. And this CLE 300 sits on the C-Class chassis, but it's still longer than the C-Class and it's also just about as wide as an E-Class. So yeah, it's quite spacious on the inside too, and that is going to be an important factor for a two-door coupe because it's still got 4 seats, so it can carry 4 passengers, but more on that once we go on the inside. And there are these vents on either side, functional ones, and also there are more star badging on them too in normal plastic and glossy plastic around that. At the bottom there is this chrome strip and some more opening at the bottom too, and then there is this Mercedes badging on the top, and there are two cameras out here. One is for the active and the passive safety systems, and the other one acts as a dash cam, as well as also for the augmented reality while you're using the navigation, because it shows you on the infotainment screen with the live feed and also the arrows and the directions and everything. So it is really nicely merged in terms of giving you an overall experience, the user experience on the infotainment screen. And when we come to these headlights, so these are the full set of LED headlights. They are the dynamic assisting headlights also, so they would automatically adjust the beams and everything when you're following a car in front of you. And there are also DRLs on the top as well as on the bottom surface also of the headlight cluster, and then these DRLs are completely in LED. They are also the digital lights, the digital LED lights, and on the top face of the DRL that converts into the turn signals. And underneath this hood sits a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. So the elegant and the stylish design continues on the side too. There are no unnecessary lines or anything, but instead much more rounded design. So there is just one shoulder line, and that goes from the middle somewhere here and then goes to the back, and also something that starts from here in the front and disappears out here. And then these long doors, the true coupe style. And on this CLE 300 you will get these 20-inch multi-spoke dual tone alloy wheels with the Mercedes badging in the center, and the front wheels are 245 35 by 20 and the rear ones are 275 30 and are 20. So the rear ones are obviously much more thicker ones, and it's also evident because when you look at this car from the side profile, it really arches out, and then there are these thick arches that cover those thicker tires too. There is this chrome surround full around these windows, and when we come to these side mirrors, these are body colored side mirrors. They are power foldable, power adjustable. They have the blind spot warning on the inside, one of the cameras from the 360-degree camera system, and also a turn signal too. These door handles on the top face are chrome, and they are the keyless entry doors. And if you download the Mercedes ME app, and you can control everything using that app, because this car also has its own internet pack, so you can literally control everything on this car, from unlocking, locking, switching it on remotely, even switching on the heater or air conditioning. Everything can be done. At the bottom, body colored skirting too, and it sits really low. If you look at this, like where exactly the car is coming, right near my chest, and it's quite long too. And if you notice this long nose and where eventually you sit, it's nearly on the rear axle, and there are also 2 more seats in the back side too. There is also a panoramic sunroof provided, and on the inside there are also Mercedes-Benz mentioned on the door sills, which is the illuminated one. And one more thing I want to mention about is the fact of how you go into the rear seats, and that's actually quite easy because all you have to do is just pull this strap, and then the seats electronically fold in front, and then after that you go in from here, which is surprisingly an easy thing compared to a lot of other, let's say, coupes or two-door cars. And not to come out, yeah, because it's sitting so low down, it's easier to come out from here. And then you push this seat back, pull this strap, and let the car put the seats back in place. Oh, and these are the frameless doors too. You really have to look at this car in person to appreciate its beauty, because it's just so much clean. It looks elegant, it's beautiful, and it also comes with the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system and 9G-tronic 9-speed automatic transmission. So this CLE 300 also comes with some optional package which is on this particular car that I am testing. So the first one is this metallic red color, which is what, $2,200. And there is also the Artico package, which is like a man-made leather that's been offered on the inside. There's also the AMG package. There's a Pinnacle trim, so 360-degree cameras, the augmented reality, all of that is in the Pinnacle trim. And the AMG trim offers the exterior body styling, so it's much more closer to the AMG lineup of the other coupes that are available. And it also offers sporty steering and more sporty bits on the inside too, because the sport variants of these coupes are like the GT series and also the SL series. So those are much more bigger and much more luxurious variants, and also the sporty variants on this coupe lineup. So in the rear you would find these full set of LED lights on either side. Again, a very rounded design in the back too, and a very sloping, rear end. CLE 300 badging here, Mercedes badging in the middle, 4MATIC badging on the other side. In terms of the visibility, it's slightly restricted because it offers more higher to mid-level visibility, whereas the lower one is slightly restricted because of the way it's been curving in the back. And at the bottom there is this chrome surround around these fake exhaust tips which are given on either side for some reason, and more chrome strips in the middle, and this is normal plastic. And then there are these two bulgy things near the nameplate on either side, and those are for basically the requirements. This is the North American standards, where in order to get the car cleared you need to have like bumpers that are actually protruding out from the body, where the body actually finishes from where it should be appearing. So that's why these bulges are there. It sort of ruins a little bit of this styling on the car. And in order to open the trunk, so you can either swipe your leg, because there is a convenience feature, again works very well, just like the Mercedes E-Class that I tested before, which was the E450. So you can click on the pop-up banner out here. You can watch the detailed review video of that. If you want to open the trunk door normally, then you have to press this Mercedes badge, and then it quietly opens up, and then you are greeted to this huge trunk space, which is about 14.8 cubic feet, which is very big and decent enough, although it's a lot more rectangular and raised up, but still deep enough. Like it's almost 1 pound worth deep, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle to put your luggage in and out from here, because you really have to drag it out. There are also scuff plates given in the back so that you don't damage your expensive paint work. There are also tying points on the floor that are provided, and also net storage on the left side. And the bottom of the trunk floor sits a tire repair kit, so there is no spare wheel. And in order to fold down the rear seats, it's a bit of a process, because you have to go from the front, because there are no levers or anything provided to pull them down. So you go from the front seat and then push the seats in the front, and then go into the rear and pull the rear seats out. And when the rear seats are folded, then you can load longer objects into the rear, but yeah, that's just a choice, because if there are no passengers using the rear seats, then yeah, you might as well do that. And there is only a small amount of step that hinders when the rear seats are folded down. There is also a trunk light mounted here in the middle, and there is also this hook that comes out, a foldable one, and then on that you can hang your shopping bags and it just folds away. And in order to close the trunk, you can press the button provided here. There's also an emergency release button here for the trunk, and it keeps glowing. But let me demonstrate you by swiping the leg and closing the door, which I said works every single time. So the inside of this CLE 300 is lined with some premium grade materials and a really amazing experience in terms of interacting with anything on the inside. So let me begin with the material quality. On the top face there is this leather, and around these vents also there is this curve that goes around, and yeah, the speaker grill, everything has the curve. So they've not missed out or just made like the dashboard just roundish, but also given it like a contouring there too. Even on the door cards on the top face there is soft touch material, and it's got the combination of macchiata beige leather and the black leather, so it's a dual tone. So the macchiata that you see is on the side face, that leather where you're going to be resting, that's again leather covered. These buttons and switches around that also there is glossy plastic and this silver color plastic, and then these buttons out here to adjust the seats and everything. And these doors are actually quite long, so when you're in a tighter space, yeah, that's going to be a bit difficult to open these doors all the way through if you have to let the passengers in the back. So yeah, these doors, also long doors, come with their own set of problems sometimes. And on this face of the dashboard you would find the metal weaving. It might look like carbon fiber, but it's metal weaving. And even in this center console out here in the tunnel there is this metal weaving with the door here, and in the back there is the leather covered, and it's the Artico leather that I mentioned, which is a man-made leather. So it's, yeah, more artificial leather, but it does not feel like that because the leather quality is premium grade and it's also soft. More on that when I come to the seats. The steering is again leather covered, and as I mentioned, there's also the dash cam that's been provided on this car, and the heads up display too. There are also mood lights and accent lights all inside in the car. On the door cards out here in this hand rest around there in the front, in the near the switches and everything, these vents, they also glow on the inside, and on the passenger side also in this center tunnel out here on the roof, everywhere there are mood lights. And these mood lights, actually the top ones and also in the footwell that are provided, they change color as you change the temperature of the AC. So if you go hotter, these become, the vents become red color, and if you go cooler then it becomes blue. So yeah, that's like a cue for you visually, so that you are changing the temperature, you know that. And in order to change the mood lights, so you go into the home and there is the comfort option. First into the settings you can change it, there's a light option in which there's an ambient light, or you go into the comfort straightforward and then there is the ambient light option where there is monochrome and like 64 colors are available to choose from, or multicolor where it gives different colors to different areas, and then you can adjust the brightness, you can link it or unlink it, different zones, and then the effects, warning when exiting. So it will, these panels out here would turn red to warn you that there is a vehicle or person that is next to the car, so you don't open the door accidentally. Then the climate, as I mentioned, that also shows animation, and then the multicolor animation, so it would change the color scheme and everything when you have the color option in the multicolor, so that would also keep flowing those lights. So yes, good use of, you know, these lights. It was there even in the E450 that I had reviewed, so make sure to watch that review too. Now when we come to the driver's display, so there is a 12.3 inch digital driver's display. It's super clear, it's big, bright, and very easy to read. I like the graphics and all the fonts and everything on this screen itself. Even during bright day, it's very easy to read. And in order to change any information on this driver's display, there are buttons provided on the left side, so you use those touch buttons. Now that's the only thing, like there are touch buttons provided for every single functions that you want to interact with this car, because there are no physical buttons that are provided. Even out here underneath the air the infotainment screen, there are these touch buttons provided, and on the steering also the touch buttons are provided. So in order to change the layout of this driver's display, you press the home button, and then you have the sport, then classic, navigation, assistance, and the service options, where service will show you the coolant and everything on the inside, more detailed levels. And then we can switch to the classic view, and if you want to change the information in the middle, you can scroll through that by again using these touch buttons. So you scroll and see the first option, which is just your total kilometers, the odometer that you've done, the recent trip, then from start, then from reset, eco display, then consumption, attention assistant, then the media, then the navigation, and then we are back into the same menu options. And there is also the heads up display that's been provided. That's again quite big and broad, and there also you can see a lot more information, like if you are using the navigation, or if there are any warnings, or if you are reversing or forwarding, then the sensors around the car, they would warn you where exactly the obstacles are, then the speed limit and everything. And even the heads up display can be changed by using the buttons provided on the steering wheel. So you press the home and go on the top, so there is a minimal view where it only shows you speed, then the sport display, standard, where it shows everything, then the settings, where you can adjust the height and the brightness of it, or you can switch off the heads up display also from here, or you can even go from the infotainment screen, scroll down from the top, or press the vehicle button at the bottom, and from there you can switch on the heads up display on and off. So that's another way to switch it on and off from the infotainment screen too. But that's how you use the driver's display on this CLE 300. Now when you come to the steering wheel, this is a flat bottom leather covered steering wheel, half perforated. There are also paddle shifters provided in the back, but those are the plastic paddle shifters, but it still comes with the 9-speed automatic transmission. So when you go for a drive, it is quite fun to use these paddle shifters while on the move. And it's a 3-spoke steering wheel with the Mercedes badging in the middle, and then touch buttons provided on either side in this glossy black plastic, so it can become a little bit of a fingerprint magnet when you use them often, especially with you have like sticky fingers. Then yeah, just be careful, or you constantly have to keep wiping them. Now on the right side, there are buttons provided for the media control. So these buttons you can control on the top face that are provided to control the screen, the infotainment screen. All the buttons are for that, and at the bottom there are buttons provided for the volume control and the phone answering and voice controls and everything. And on the left side, on the top face, there are buttons provided to change the information on the driver's display, whereas at the bottom there are buttons provided for the adaptive cruise control, which is called the Distronic cruise control. So it would automatically adjust the speed also, so it's adaptive speed. So based on the speed limits in various areas that you cross, then it would change the speed limits also. So this front camera that is mounted, that monitors a lot more things also. It even warns you about any potholes on the road. So yeah, lots of things that it can do. But overall, yes, a very sporty kind of steering wheel setup provided on this CLE 300. Now when we come to the air conditioning controls, so the air conditioning controls are sitting at the bottom of this 11.9-inch infotainment screen, and in terms of its function, it's pretty straightforward. I like it for once, even though it's a touch screen, because you don't have to go through a lot of menu options to be able to change the air conditioning. But yes, it's still on the screen itself. So the infotainment screen stops working, then I don't know what happens. But yes, At the bottom there is the air conditioning controls, and there are dials given on either side. The digital dials, on screen dials provided, that shows you temperature in the middle, and then you can change the temperature on either side. So you get dual zone air conditioning system on this CLE 300, and then the fan speed on the left side, and then in the middle there are more options to switch on AC or auto or anything, and then the fresh air, and then the climate menu where you can select where you want the flow of air to be, and you can synchronize the temperature also for driver and the passenger. Then the air quality, so it will recirculate fresh air into the cabin, and even cleanse the air on the inside of this car, making you feel fresh. So that's how you use the air conditioning. It's fairly straightforward. Now when we come to this infotainment screen, this is an 11.9-inch infotainment screen that runs on Mercedes-Benz user interface. So it's called the MBUX. In terms of its operation, it's got a few things. So the first thing to mention is the fact that it's got the 0-layer theme on this currently. So you can select the classic one also if you prefer that, which has like more layering going on, but I prefer the 0-layer because it's quite straightforward and easy to use also. And on the main screen there is this big maps that are default set like this, and there is also the data package that's been provided on this CLE 300. So maps and everything can be utilized, and over the air updates also can happen, as well as the Mercedes ME app that you download and control the various functions of the car. So on the top you can press where to, and then the point of interest and everything, or you can press this Mercedes icon, and then gas stations, previous destinations and everything. And as I said, this thing has augmented reality also. So once you put the destination, then it will show you on the screen itself whenever you are waiting at the signal also. So it shows you something called as the traffic light feed. So that will show you the traffic around you, as well as the augmented reality would put the directions on the feed itself. So it comes in quite handy. So it's really rare to miss an exit whenever you have to, or miss a turn also. And it's fairly straightforward, easy to use. Maps, I have been using it, and yes, I can say that I haven't been missing the Google Maps that much. But yes, some of the times, yes, some things can become a bit too complicated. That's when I've used the Google Maps, but otherwise for day-to-day use, this is actually very good. And then out here at the bottom sits the air conditioning controls, and in between that sits the media controls. And in order to go into the more detailed options, then there is the app option where there is Mercedes ME weather, and the dash cam option as I mentioned. Then dash cam, you have to have the memory card inserted through the USB. Then the camera option, then the gallery whenever you take any photos or images. Then the store, you can download apps onto this. Then the comfort option where it has the seat option, seat kinematics. So if you feel motion sickness, then these inbuilt options would make sure that the backrest and the seat surface, they all move around, so that you feel much more relaxed on the inside of this car. And it's for the driver and the passenger. Then the heat settings, so the additional steering wheel heating is from here, and this option when you press, that's when the heating on the steering starts, which is a bit complicated process to be finding the heated steering wheel option. And then the automatic seat position, then the ambient lights, then we go back, then the phone option, radio option, and the media option. So in terms of the connectivity, you can connect this infotainment screen using Bluetooth, USB, and there is wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Then there is Sirius XM option also. Then the detailed settings where there is assistance, so collision avoidance assistance like traffic sign, then the attention assist, cameras, you can open the rear camera cover if you want to service it, then the parking space, everything, then the audio fade out, maneuvering, then the vehicle settings, the manual shifting mode that can be switched on from here, or you swipe down from the top and switch on the manual shifting option too. Then the comfort settings, then the occupant protection, open and close, all the trunk settings, then the dynamic select, because this thing comes with different driving modes too. I'm going to come to that too, so you can change those driving modes. Then the light, digital light, interior exterior lights, locator lights, the ambient lights, then the system settings, voice suggestions, all of that, audio, internet, all of those things can be changed from here. Apps, Vivaldi browser, then the info, then we go back and the info where it shows you information about the car, like the brake pressure, then the accelerator that you're pressing, then what mode you are in, then the inclinometer, everything, then the engine option where it shows you how much power and torque you're producing, so in order to feel more sportier. Then we go back and we swipe devices, Vivaldi browser. So all these options are the main ones. That's how you control this infotainment screen. Then you swipe down from the top, and if there are any notifications or the vehicle's functions, so heads up display, the traction control, manual shifting, parktronic, because this thing also comes with automatic parking, so it can park itself into the box as well as get the car out from the box too, and it works flawlessly. Then there is something called as the seat belt feeder option. So the seat belts on either side, whenever you enter into the car, they are fed to you, so they will come in front so that it's easier, but otherwise it's a bit of a stretch if the seat belts are in the back. So when I press this option, yeah, these seat belts are presented to you and you can take them and then they would automatically move back. Then the interior protection, tow away alarm, block trunk access, then the all settings that you can reach from inside this, and then we come out, and that's how you use the infotainment screen on this CLE 300. Now there's also a biometric sensor that's provided at the bottom where these buttons are touch buttons, but yes, that's for additional safety. So yeah, you can lock this screen and do stuff with it. Now there are also buttons, as I mentioned, provided on the bottom side. So on the extreme right side, there is the volume slider and mute and switching it on and off, so you can switch off the display completely or the system also, you can do that too. On the extreme left side, there is this dynamic button, but all these are touch buttons. So this is the dynamic button is for changing the different driving modes. So there are 4 different driving modes: eco, then the comfort, then the sport, and the individual. And on the top left corner, it also shows you all the settings that the car is in. So you press the settings button and then you can change the drive, steering feel, the traction control, and the sound. So currently it's on sport and all of that, so you can change everything and then you can customize that individual mode on this CLE 300. But those are the 4 different driving modes. And then there is the dedicated camera button. You press that button and then you can see the camera views around. Brilliant 360-degree cameras that are provided on this CLE 300. You can see this 3D view and then you can get a view all across on the car itself. Really crisp cameras, and then slightly on the slower side because it's been heavily loaded with a lot of animation and graphics. So you can see the front view, rear view, and also it shows you the 360 on the side too. Then the 3D view, and those were the seat belts that retracted back, and then the auto view that shows you the top side, and then the parking assistance that I was mentioning about. So it would scan the parking for you and then find the parking for you, and then you can select which box you want to park the car into. Now when we come to the charging, so there is one Type-C USB port given inside this center tunnel along with a wireless charger, and there are 2 more Type-C USB ports given in this center armrest. There is also an SOS button for emergency purposes and also the Mercedes ME button, and you also have these extendable sun visors, very much needed because of these longer doors. And also there is a normal sunroof, but the buttons are like touch buttons, but the normal sunroof also is quite big and it opens quite big enough. When we come to the storage, so in the door cards you can put about 1 to 1.5 liter worth of bottle and some more storage in the back. There is this center storage in which there is this wireless charger, you can utilize that, and some more storage on the side also. And there are these 2 cup holders, and then you press these buttons and then those cup holders become the flexible cup holders, or you can fold them away and make them like a bigger cup holders, or you can even remove them too, so that's also possible, and then utilize this entire storage in the center too. Then there is this storage inside the center armrest. Again, you can put your phones and wallets, and there is this glove box also to put your manuals, stuff and papers and stuff. And then same on the passenger side too. Now when we come to these seats, these are the Artico man-made leather seats, and they are the beige color seats, the macchiato beige color seats. They are perforated seats because they are the heated and the cooled seats, and in order to switch on the heated and the cooled seat options, they are given on the side face of these doors. So you press the heated or the cooled seat options given on driver and the passenger side. The seats themselves are really broad, and even though this is a man-made leather, as I said, they are very comfortable. Although these are this CLE 300 comes with the AMG trim, so these are something like sporty seats, but I still find them to be much more on the comfortable side and not really very sporty, and that's a good thing because it's more of a coupe. You want to be relaxed and you want to just enjoy the ride, and these seats would make sure, and combined with those seat kinematics, which will make sure that you're relaxed inside the car, these seats are really a joy to sit in. It's just that the beige color leather, yeah, that might get a little dirty, so you have to keep cleaning them often too. And in terms of the support overall in the back, it's really good. It combined with the lumbar adjustment, it gives you a lot more support, and even the bottom rest, that's actually quite good. And not just that, it's also extendable, so both the driver and the passenger side seat, the under thigh support, that can be extended. So that's on the buttons given on the door cards itself, so using that you can extend those. And these buttons that are given for the seat adjustment, they are all the touch buttons. So yeah, those are not like the physical switches, so yeah, you don't really sometimes know that you're pressing or not unless the seat starts moving. But in terms of the adjustment, so the driver and the passenger side seat is 12-way electronically adjustable, and not just that, you can even adjust the headrest, like they are electronically adjustable too, as well as the under thigh support that can be extended. And if you press this button that is given behind the headrest, you can even pull these headrests forward, so you can adjust that also to give you a little bit more support behind the head. So yeah, many ways that these seats can be adjusted. But one thing that I think is these seats miss out are the massage seat options, because it was there on the E-Class, and these seats, because they are so comfortable, adding a massage seat option would really make them so much more comfortable. Now on this CLE 300, you get Burmester surround sound system, and it's an $1,100 optional extra, but I feel it's well worth it, because and with this interior quality, the surround sound system sounds incredible. Now once you get into the rear seats, you have to close these doors, and the is that these doors also open at a very big angle, and then you pull the seat and then pull this strap. So the driver's side seat, you have to pull the strap, but on the passenger side, if you just put the seat back in place, it just automatically comes back. Now this seat, the driver's seat, is in my driving position, and look at this, the amount of space that I still have. So that's what I said, the rear space is actually usable, and for once a coupe isn't going to be a pain, because getting in and out is again fairly easy compared to a lot of other coupes. But what impresses me the most is the fact that there is still usable space in the back too. Now in terms of the comfort, the seats are again the same beige color Artico leather seats, and they are perforated, but they are not the heater or the cooled seats, just for the design purposes. And they have like a specific sort of side support and also the rear support, and on the side wall also there is good amount of support, and you fit really well into these seats and you feel secure on the inside. And then there is also this little window so that you can look out also, so it does not feel very claustrophobic on the inside. And in terms of the knee room, half palm worth of knee room. Even some of the SUVs don't have this much of space. And the headroom, yeah, that's about enough, although someone above 6 feet will start brushing their heads against the ceiling because of the fact that the roof line is swooping, so that's why it reduces the head space. But there are two headrests also, and out here you would find in the middle that there are two normal cup holders and some more space here. There are also two air conditioning vents provided here, and some more storage at the bottom, and mood lights on either side too, and there is not much space under the seats to stretch your legs, so you are essentially going to be sitting in this position for most of the time. And there is also a bit of a tunnel here, but anyways, there's no middle seat as such, so it doesn't matter. And you can even fold down this bit in the middle, so when you fold that down, you can have this as a handrest also, or you can access something into the trunk if that's the case, but I'm guessing this is essentially to raise the height of the handrest, and which is why it's covered with the softer material also. But that's a great idea, because then the cup holders that are provided, they are way too low down, and then I don't know if I want to put my drink in there, because there is a risk of spilling it around when we go for a drive. But speaking of the drive, it's time to go for a drive in the CLE 300. Now, even though this CLE 300 has a very long nose, but the thing is that you always get to see where the nose is and where that front end is, so it's just much more easier to gauge the length of the car, so that ways the visibility is not gonna be an issue. Now, on this CLE 300, you would get a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, and this engine is mated to a 9G-tronic 9-speed automatic transmission, and this engine itself produces 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, whereas the motor, so the motor is actually an integrated starter generator. And what does that mean is that instead of having like a starter motor and an alternator, there's only one single motor that does all the job of even powering the lower end of the RPM band. So that integrated starter generator, that produces 23 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque, but that is instant because it's filling that gap, essential gap at the lower level, and it does that job very well, and it actually makes the car feel so much more smoother and powerful, even though this is a 2-liter turbocharged engine only, whereas the CLE 450 comes with a 3-liter inline 6 turbocharged engine, and it's also got the same 48-volt mild hybrid system. But coming to this actually is a very well done power unit, because the gear shifts, they are very good and they are very smooth. The power delivery, again, that's also pretty good, although I would say that car might struggle sometimes if you want to accelerate. But again, the solution to that is you put this car into sport mode, and then this car comes alive, because boy, this thing is fast. It still is fast, even though softer setup, but it can become slightly fruity also if you want it to be. So yes, the gear shifts are snappy and the power delivery improves, and then this electric motor fills in that gap, and it's so clever because it also manages the way that if you're in a traffic and if you release the throttle pedal, then it will automatically cut off the power, saving you some fuel. Plus, if you are, let's say, cruising along, then it will automatically adjust the power also according to that, so that it reduces the consumption of the fuel. So it does a lot of clever stuff. And in terms of the fuel consumption, so within the city, I've managed to get somewhere around 9 to 9.5 liters per 100 kilometers, whereas on highways I've managed to get 7 to 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is pretty good for a coupe. The integrated starter generator, what it does, that it reduces some of the complications also, that it does not require alternator, so you don't need too many bells to drive the engine, hence simplifying the engine setup also. Now, there's also this drive stick here, the shifter column that's mounted behind the steering. When we come to the suspensions, so these are the sporty suspensions because it's part of the AMG package, and I've found them to be, yes, slightly on the stiffer side, but they still do offer the comfort also. But it's just that if the potholes are bigger, then the suspension travel isn't that much, and I sometimes feel like the suspensions are reaching towards the top end and also towards the bottom end, and then yeah, there's a huge thudding sound after that. But yes, that's the limitation, and because there's not much movement for the suspensions, and that's because of that it can do that. But overall, the suspensions are tuned in a way that it's offering a confidence inducing ride feel, and that is doing its job very well in that department. When it comes to the steering, so the steering is electronically assisted, so the steering is a bit on the lighter side is what I've found. I've put the car in the sport, yes, it becomes slightly on the heavier side, but it still does not feel like a coupe kind of setup for some reason. But yes, I mean, you do want a lighter steering these days because you're driving these cars most of the times within the city in heavier traffic, so you want the lighter steering feel, and I get that. So in that, it's doing that job very well, and it's more like, because you sit so far back, it's more like a pivoting kind of a steering setup because of the long nose. So you feel like you're pivot, instead of, if you're in a regular car, you would feel like you're in the front and then steering the car, but on this it feels more like a pivot. It's a good fun that ways to drive in something sort of this fashion. But overall, I wouldn't complain about the steering setup. Now when we come to the brakes, so there are 4 disc brakes on this CLE 300, but the brake pedal, I've found it to be slightly on the softer side because there is a bit of a travel to the brake pedal, but the braking action themselves, because there are ventilated disc brakes, again part of the AMG package, so it does the job very well in braking the car at a reasonable distance. Now the thing is, there are also paddle shifters that are provided, so let me put this car into the manual mode, and in order to do that you have to go into this infotainment screen. That's the only thing, and then once you're in the paddle setup, oh yeah, I'm sure some artificial sound is being blasted on the inside to make that 2-liter engine sound a little more fruity, but I wouldn't complain. Yeah, this thing really becomes lively, and then you take the manual control. So the best mode to drive this car in is sport with the manual control. The gear shifts take like little less than half a second to change, but whoa, it really picks up speed, and because you're sitting so low down, the ride experience is fascinating. It really makes you feel engaged on the inside of this car, at the same time a joy to drive too. Yeah, really nice. Now when we come to the noise and the vibrations, so the engine isn't the best sounding one, I will admit that. Like, yeah, it's a 2-liter turbocharged engine, so it sounds fairly modest, but yeah, you just forget once you start driving, because I'm sure there is artificial sound being blasted, so it's all right. And there is a bit of noise from the wheel wells because these tires are 20 inches and the rear ones are thicker, and the front ones, not much wall is left after that, and the tires also don't assist in absorbing the bumps also. And from wind whooshing and all, there's not much, because these windows, even though they are massive, like they are long and big, but they are still fairly quiet. When we come to the safety systems, so there are 8 airbags, 2 for the front driver and the passenger, 2 side airbags again for the driver and the passenger. There are curtain airbags given in the front frames and in the rear also, and there are 2 knee airbags for the driver and the passenger too. There's also child isofix points in both the rear seats, and there is also a brilliant 360-degree camera system provided. The output from that is fine, really refined and quality, good use of the screens and also the camera quality that's been given on this, and the ability to choose from so many different modes. And there is also the tire pressure, ABS, then there is also the EBD, traction control, then various safety system, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, then the anti-theft system, then the blind spot warning, then the Distronic cruise control, which is the adaptive cruise control, then the front and the rear collision warning, pedestrian warnings, rear seat reminder. Every single thing is available on this CLE 300. Now when we come to the pricing, so this CLE 300 with all the options spec comes in at 79,300 Canadian dollars, and yes, some of the bits you can remove and make it slightly cheaper also, but I still like this idea because let's be honest, these sort of cars are slowly fading away, and the coupe is even more faster, and it's still a good thing that manufacturers are still building these sort of cars, because when you drive them you realize how much fun they are, even though they are 2-liter turbocharged engine, but really fun to drive. Things still exist before those electric innovations, they all come over and they'll be just taking over, because then they are just the copy paste sort of method to make those cars. But this, yes, this has a lot of things that's still going on. It's got the dynamics, it got the presence. Boy, it looks so much more handsome on the outside, and it's still got the space on the inside. It's got the tech, it's advanced, it's fully loaded, and the space, as I said, adults can use it in the rear too. And yes, for $79,000, this is still a decent price to pay for a true coupe, two-door true coupe, and not like these days manufacturers calling even a four-door cars as coupes. But coupes are 2 doors and elegant looking, stylish, and with these long doors, beautiful things to look at. Like, you could just keep staring at this car for the entire day, and then if you're done with that, you can just continue driving this car for a very long time. I'm waiting for my signal to turn green, but it's not. I want to drive this car. You see, that's what happens when you sit inside these sort of machines. Yeah, they are fun. Yeah, enjoy while these things last. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching this video, and if you've liked this video, make sure to press the thumbs up button. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care, and drive safe.